everyone. So we recently read Hooray for Wadney Wat, and today we're going to be reading Yertle the Turtle by Dr. Seuss, a classic. I'm reading this to you because I thought this would be a great way to show text-to-text connections because they have a similar theme, and I also want to include text-to-world connections. So we're going to review text-to-self, going to go into text-to-text and text-to-world connections as we read this story. Now, if you don't have Post-it notes, it's okay. You can just cut pieces of paper to make little bookmarks, and you can write your text-to-self, text-to-text, and text-to-world notes right on something like this, and then stick it right in the book, like I have them kind of sticking out. And I pre-wrote some because I've read this many times, and I'm going to share them with you as we go. Okay? Yertle the Turtle. This is kind of a silly story. On the faraway island of Salamasand, Yertle the Turtle was king of the pond. A nice little pond. It was clean, it was neat. The water was warm, there was plenty to eat. The turtles had everything turtles might need, and they were all happy, quite happy indeed. They were until Yertle, the king of them all, decided the kingdom he ruled was too small. I'm ruler, said Yertle, of all that I see, but I don't see enough. That's the trouble with me. With this stone for a throne, I look down on my pond, but I cannot look down on the places beyond. This throne that I sit on is too low down. It ought to be higher, he said with a frown. If I could sit high, how much greater I'd be. What a king I'd be, ruler of all I could see. He's a little reminding me like a different character we just read. Can anybody make a text-to-text connection there? Like let's see. Or text-to-self connection. Can you think of anybody that might be a little wanting more? So Yertle the Turtle King lifted his hand, and Yertle the Turtle King gave a command. He ordered 9 turtles to swim to his stone, and using these turtles, he built a new throne. He made each turtle stand on another one's back, and he piled them all up in a 9-turtle stack. And then Yertle climbed up. He sat down on the pile. What a wonderful view. He could see most a mile. All mine, Yertle cried. Oh, the things I now rule. I'm king of a cow, and I'm king of a mule. I'm king of a house, and what's more beyond that, I'm king of a blueberry bush and a cat. I'm Yertle the Turtle. Oh, marvelous me, for I am the ruler of all that I see. Now, I have to admit to you, I made a text-to-self connection. And Yertle, although he's a little extreme, does kind of remind me. I wrote text-to-self. Yertle saying all mine makes me think how sometimes I do want things a certain way. So I will, that's okay. I can admit that. So I made a text-to-self connection, Yertle reminding me of myself sometimes. Now, that's not to say that I feel like I'm totally bossy and wanting like so much like Yertle, but it does make me think of there are certain times that I want it my way sometimes. And that's okay. And all through that morning, he sat there up high, saying over and over, a great king am I, until long about noon. Then he heard a faint sigh. What's that? Snapped the king, and he looked down the stack, and he saw at the bottom a turtle named Mac, just a part of his throne. And this plain little turtle looked up, and he said, Beg your pardon, King Yertle. I've pains in my back and my shoulders and knees. How long must we stand here, your majesty, please? Poor Mac. Now, he's kind of reminding me of me, too, in many ways. How about you guys? Can you make any text-to-self connections with either of these characters? Not necessarily the character, but the situation in some way? Silence, the king of the turtles barked back. I'm king, and you're only a turtle named Mac. Now this, I made a text-to-text connection. When Yertle yells silence, it reminds me of Camilla Capybara because they are both so bossy and they're bullies too. So that was a text-to-text connection. Did you see how I did that? I looked at Yertle and what he's like, and I thought about Camilla Capybara in Hooray for Wadney Wat, and I noticed that there were some similarities there. So that's how I wrote it out, okay? Notice how I wrote, I gave what it is, Yertle yells, silence, and that reminds me of, and then I told the character and why. Okay, so it's kind of a multiple step process. You stay in your place while I sit here and rule. I'm king of a cow and I'm king of a mule. I'm king of a house and a bush and a cat, but that isn't all. I'll do better than that. My throne shall be higher, his royal voice thundered. So pile up more turtles. I want about 200. Turtles, more turtles, he bellowed and brayed, and the turtles way down in the pond were afraid. They trembled, they shook, but they came, they obeyed. From all over the pond they came swimming by dozens, whole families of turtles with uncles and cousins, and all of them stepped on the head of poor Mac. One after another they climbed up the stack. I'm wondering, can anybody make a text-to-self connection here? Is there something that you were kind of made to do that you really didn't want to do? That would be a great way to make a connection. Not that you were in that situation, but if you were, that would be a good text-to-self connection. Or if another character in another book was in a similar situation, that would be a text-to-text connection. T-T, just like this. T-T, okay? Then Yertle the turtle was perched up so high he could see 40 miles from his throne in the sky. Hooray! Shouted Yertle. I'm king of the trees, I'm king of the birds, and I'm king of the bees. I'm king of the butterflies, king of the air. Ah me, what a throne, what a wonderful chair. I'm Yertle the turtle, oh marvelous me, for I am the ruler of all that I see. And that I made a text-to-world connection. This is a new kind of connection. So I was thinking that when Yertle is so high on his throne, it makes me think of kind of how our society is set up. The rich are way up there, they have all the money, and it seems like everybody else is working super hard, but just, you know, sometimes they don't have the money, right? It's like the rich get richer, the poor get poorer. It just kind of reminded me of that. So Yertle being bossy and way up there when really it's everybody else doing the work. That's not to say that all rich people haven't worked hard. That is not what I mean, but it could be a connection. Then again from below in the great heavy stack came a groan from that plain little turtle named Mac. Your Majesty, please, I don't like to complain, but down here below we are feeling great pain. I know up top you are seeing great sights, but down at the bottom we too should have rights. We turtles can't stand it, our shells will all crack. Besides, we need food. We are starving, groaned Mac. You hush up your mouth, howled the mighty King Yertle. You've no right to talk to the world's highest turtle. I rule from the clouds, over land, over sea. There's nothing, no nothing that's higher than me. But while he was shouting, he saw with surprise that the moon of the evening was starting to rise up over his head in the darkening skies. What's that? Snorted Yertle. Say, what is that thing that dares to be higher than Yertle the king? I shall not allow it. I'll go higher still. I'll build my throne higher. I can and I will. I'll call some more turtles. I'll stack them to heaven. I need about 5,607. Is anybody making any connections here? Is this really attainable? Is this something that Yertle's going to be able to do? Have you ever felt like something was just out of reach, but you wanted it so badly? That would be a text-to-self connection. You could also have many text-to-world connections or text-to-text connections here too. But as Yertle the Turtle King lifted his hand and started to order and gave the command, that plain little turtle below in the stack, that plain little turtle whose name was just Mac, decided he'd taken enough, and he had. And that plain little lad got a little bit mad, and that plain little Mac did a plain little thing. He burped, and his burp shook the throne of the king. There are many text-to-world connections we could make here. So Mac did a plain little thing. Could this be like, I don't know, maybe Rosa Parks doing something very simple, but making a huge change? And Yertle the Turtle, the king of the trees, the king of the air and the birds and the bees, the king of a house and a cow and a mule, well, that was the end of the Turtle King's rule. For Yertle, the turtle of all Salamasand, fell off his high throne and fell plunk in the pond. And today, the great Yertle, that marvelous he, is king of the mud, that is all he can see. And the turtles, of course, all the turtles are free, as turtles and maybe all creatures should be. I am making another text-to-text connection, you guys, and that is, think about fish in a tree, and I'm having a hard time remembering her name, but there was a character who was very much stuck up, and everybody listened to her, and she had all of the power, right? And Allie did not. She was so intimidated and overwhelmed in the beginning, but Allie, was more like Mac, right? And she really made a big difference. And Yertle was more like that other girl who I cannot remember her name, but you guys probably do. So that would be a text-to-text connection. So please make these kind of connections while you're reading, because you will become a much better reader as you really kind of think about what you're reading, making connections with what you're reading, and developing that knowledge base will just make you such a great learner. I hope you enjoyed this, and happy reading! See you next time!